Hey, welcome to the Beard Guru Australia podcast, Season 1, Episode 4. I'm your host, Danny Elliott, aka The Wolf Man, recorded right here in Valley Sound Studios, Canberra, Australia. On this episode, we have a special guest, a carpenter gone businessman, the one, the only, Matty Allen. We go through Matty's journey with the starting stages as an apprentice, up to now owning and running his own business. Although the world has had hard times recently, this chippy is a determined individual who will stop at nothing to kick all his goals and retire by 50. Let's roll up our sleeves as we get an inside perspective of what it's like to go from apprentice to business owner, which I'm sure many of you viewers and listeners have either tried, wanted, or even had a successful career transition of your own. Let's go! Yeah. Welcome to Beard Guru Australia podcast, Season 1, Episode 4. We have here today special guest, Matty Allen. Woo. The crowd goes wild. All right, Matty.
What's going on?
Well, welcome. I'll start with your background. Firstly, in construction, design and construct. Where did this world begin for you?
Well, I started off as a pole dancer.
Oh, yeah? When you were 6?
Not really. But no, I was a chippy for like 12 years. So I did that for a while, and then I moved on the way up to project managing, and then company managing, and then owning a company. So,
but didn't you? I remember you had your own company for a while.
I did. I had my own company.
That was part of the carpentry.
Yeah, it was a carpentry company. It was rubbish. It was terrible. One of the worst experiences of my entire life.
We'll tap onto that a bit more later. I want to listen right now, but we'll go back to the start, because what got you into carpentry?
Well, my dad was a carpenter, so it was. I wasn't like the best at school. Like, I wasn't dumb, but I wasn't smart, and I didn't want to like go to university or anything. So it was like the obvious thing to do back then. Like, I didn't do an ASBA or anything through school. I was working at Lowe's. And I just started I used to go to work with my dad when I was like, I don't know, 15. And then just decided to do an apprenticeship when I was out of school, because I had a company to go to, and that's what all my friends were doing. So it was just the easy way to go.
Yeah. So you weren't really like looking to do that exactly. It was like, oh, well, this is a good start, basically.
I was 18, so all I wanted to do was chase girls.
Yeah.
And go out.
Skateboard, chase girls.
I didn't want to do anything. But I guess it was...
some nice water.
It is very nice water. Lightly carbonated.
Yeah. Beautiful. But you've stuck to construction for a fair while. Usually if you stick to the things for a while, it means that you either naturally fall into place, as well as you have some sort of like for it. You don't hate it.
I was good at it.
You were good naturally?
I was just good at it.
Yeah.
And then, like, usually when you're good at something, you stay there.
Well, it's easier to do better.
Yeah. I wasn't good at computers or anything like that. So I could build things. So I was good at it.
Pretty good at Battlefield.
I was pretty good at Battlefield. Only when I was allowed to play. But like, working with my dad was the easiest part about it, because he would make me get up for work. We would work together. He would take me. He would yell at me when I did things wrong. And he was really good too. So he taught me the right way of doing things, and I worked for a really good company. So I just stayed in it because I was good at it. And then when you get good at something and you're around people that are good at it, it makes you want to do it further. Like, you see some guys that do it and they just do it because that's what they're shit at it. And they just do it because that's what they're doing. And you've done it for like 5 years, so what are you not going to go start something new? But so I got that. I worked with a bunch of good guys that wanted to like move further away from being a chippy. It wasn't like a big commercialized company. It was like a small base
personal training, basically.
Yeah, I got really, really good carpentry training. A lot better than some of the guys you see coming out of it now.
Yeah. A lot of the carpenters are just cabinet makers, and they don't really do much carpentry. They just put it together.
Well, I have both. I'm a cabinet maker and a chippy, but I learnt both. Like, I can do both.
And you can do windows as well.
Yeah, but I learnt that later. Oh, no, I learnt that in there too, because we were commercial mobs, so we did all the internal fit-outs and stuff. Yeah, so I learnt all that kind of stuff.
It's the same principle to actually build, like, it is a form of aluminium carpentry is one of the hardest part about doing windows.
Well, there's two types of carpentry. There's residential and there's commercial. You either like one or you like the other. You never find anybody that likes both.
Yeah.
You either like building houses or you like building aluminium stuff. I never built any houses till I was like 22 maybe. And then I had done everything that I could learn in the commercial industry at that stage. So I quit, and then I went and moved on to a residential company.
Just to try
I
and
hated that.
yeah.
That sucked. Some people love it, but I hated it. I hate timber, and I hated being out in the cold. So I moved back into it. I just learned what I needed to learn, how to build a house, and then I went back to what I was good at.
Yeah. No, doing framing is not very fun.
No, I hate nail guns, hate all that stuff. It's heavy.
The only reason why a lot of guys do a lot of it is there's good money if you can do it fast.
Yeah, there's a lot of good money in it.
Not very fun work.
And it's like, I find that commercial carpentry's got a lot. You don't need to know as much, but there's a bit more finesse in it. Like, you need to be a bit tidier. Whereas
You've got to work in with a lot of trades, where any of the pre sort of like the frames and the trusses and stuff, you don't really need to work in with too many people. So it's like almost slap it up well enough and get out of there to the next one.
I find I compare it to like an artist. So you got like a graffiti artist or like a street artist, and then you got like a painter.
Yeah.
So both are hard. Graffiti's probably a bit harder because you can't get caught. You're not working with something that you can take your time on. That's resi to me. Like, it's hard, and it takes you got to know a lot of stuff and different stuff.
And you have to be original as well, like real original.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'll just go to that guy because it's all the same to people except for one like little bit,
Exactly right. So residential's like that. And then commercial's like a painter. You take your time. You got to be cleaner. You got to be neater. And your end product is usually a bunch of hoity-toity guys who sit in their office all day. So if you're a resi carpenter, that's really all you're going to be. Like, there's no really progression in that. Like, you can be a site foreman, but like in the commercial, you can be a site foreman, then you can be a site manager, then you can be a project manager, then you can be a design manager. Like, there's way more of a projection in your careers if you wanted to take it compared to residential. There's not that much out there.
You just go from carpenter to builder. That's about it.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, the money's there.
But going from carpenter to building, like, and it's getting harder and harder to get, thank God, to get your building license. And it's like how long is the course? And you got to do you got to like work and do the course and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the course at nighttime.
Yeah, it's at nighttime.
And it's expensive.
It's expensive. And then if you miss your things, you paid for it, and then you got to pay for it again if you want to start it again.
Yeah, I never did it because it wasn't anything that I ever wanted to do. I never wanted to be a builder. Like, it seems like more headache than it ever is. Like, you get a lot of money, and you can start your own team like earlier, but it wasn't the way that I ever wanted to go about it. It was a bit it's not a lot of reward. I mean, not a lot of reward for the risk that you take, I find.
Jump all the way forward to now, looking back at that first sort of stage coming through. If you saw someone that was at that stage, you now looking at them, what would you kind of give advice to them about what they need to do to either know where they want to go or speed up the process if they know where they're going? Like, if you think about like apprentices these days, it's a lot different to when you started, right? Everything's changing and morphing and everything. But what, out of your experience, what would you tell, like, what's the top 3 things you would tell someone starting out in the industry?
Like, the first piece of advice I would give is just like sit down and make sure this is what you want to do, because it's a long road to just get to the end and go, I hate this. Because the building industry is hard. It's not for people that, like, it's hard. It's a hard industry to be in. It's cutthroat. It's hard on your body. And a lot of guys find out too late that they do it, and then they hate it after like 10 years or like 5 years. And they've just wasted 5 years of their life. Yeah. You're like 25 now or 30 now, and you got nothing but your trade, and you can't go anywhere else, especially in this day and age.
And you don't like doing it.
Exactly. So the biggest thing I can say is don't just do it because it's there. Like, if you want a career out of it, that's the only reason that you should ever do it. I actually talk a lot of people out of being chivvies. I say, if you, like, what do you want to do? Oh, I just want to try it out. But it's not for you. You waste your life doing it if you do it that way. Yeah,
there's a lot of skill that you got to learn to get somewhere with it. Not so much of like a gamble as in like if you wanted to be a pro skater, fighter, all those sort of awesome extreme athlete things. It's not as extreme as that, but it's still got the same things where you get to a certain point and you'll actually start going backwards in your life because you'll be getting wear and thin but getting nowhere. So you got to learn in the first sort of 3 or 4 years heaps of skill, because that's the thing that's most valuable later down the line. If you've just been doing it for 10 years and a guy's been doing it for 5 years and got more skill, they're going to pick him over you.
Yeah.
And then you're just stuck.
And the way I've found it is that skill doesn't take you. It's more about attitude. Like you can teach anybody how to be a carpenter. It's not hard. Like it's not like being a sparky where you have to do all these different tests and stuff. Being a carpenter is pretty hard. You put that there, you put a nail in it. It's not hard.
It's not rocket science.
Nah. So having the right attitude is the best, like your best friend. Like you could be a numpty, but you'll learn how to not be a numpty. But if you have the wrong attitude, no one will ever show you how to do anything. I don't have any time for people that have a bad attitude. I'll take the guy that's not good at what he does with a really good attitude and wants to be better at it than the guy who's the whiz-bag carpenter who thinks his shit don't stink and won't listen to anybody any day of the week. Because I can teach that guy how to be a good carpenter. I can't teach that guy not to be a wanker. Like,
when was the moment where you knew that you were like, no, I reckon I could do this for like a good 10 years plus?
Well,
was it early or was it mid? Or
no, it was pretty late actually. Like I just went through the paces and stuff, and I just cruised through because I was good at it, and I pick up things good, and I was pretty good at it. So I cruised through. It wasn't until I started like being one of the older guys on the teams, or not the older, but like the more experienced guys. Because I loved being in charge. I like telling people what to do, not working so much. When I found out that I loved doing that and I was good at that, that's when everything changed.
Was that handed to you, or did you kind of tiptoe into it, or did you put your hand up for it, or for management?
No, it was given to me in the sense that I earned it. Like I just had a natural ability to be able to tell people what to do, and I was smart enough to be able to read plans and stuff like that, which is probably the second piece of advice that I can give guys, that if this is something that you want to do, like really concentrate on the so much the skill side of things, because you'll see guys that are like 50 years old and they're still just shippies.
Yeah.
But you'll see guys that are like 20 years old running jobs. Those guys read plans, sat in on meetings and all that stuff. That's the hard stuff. That's the stuff that you got to really concentrate on if you've decided that it's what you want to be doing. And that's what I really concentrated on. And when I figured out that I really enjoyed that, that's when I started putting all my effort into that. And that's when I realized that I wanted a career path in it instead of just like a job to do, which it was pretty late. It's probably about, I don't know, it was after I got signed off. So it's probably about 6, 7 years into my actual career.
It's like in the middle there, because a lot of people know before they start and a lot of people find out sort of in the middle, and then some people find out by stopping and starting something else. That's basically all because you're not going to, at 40 years, and then you're like, I still don't know if I like this. Like,
if you're 40 and you don't know if you like it, you
don't like it.
You've wasted your time. You should figure it out pretty quick.
You're more so looking at the whole construction aspect, not just carpentry. So you're looking at project management, managing jobs, finances, all that sort of stuff. That's more sounds like what you were kind of drawn to, but you got in the carpentry sort of stuff, but you would have started doing that like what, year 3? 3rd, 4th year usually is when people start like utilizing it just off the top of their head sort of thing.
Well, in the building industry, especially the carpentry industry, no one will give that to you. Like no one will walk up to me like, hey man, you want to come read these plans with me?
No.
I forced my way in. I was like, hey, what are you doing?
We got to prove it to them.
Well, I went up and I was like, what are you doing? I'm reading plans. Cool. Oh, just show me what you're doing, what you talk about, all that kind of stuff. Like you gotta show them. Like if I'm running a job.
Do you reckon that's because they actually don't know sometimes? I swear to God, have you done that where you talk
dude,
and then you're like, I already know that like way better, and then they're like, no, because they're manager or something.
Yeah, it's like it's hard, but you gotta really show people. Not everybody's like me though. So you got some guys that are just hard nosed and just you're too young, you don't know what you're talking about. But you really gotta force your way in if that's what you want to learn, because otherwise it's gonna be too late by the time you learn. Like I used to take plans home and read them. I used to do that once I figured out this is what I wanted to do. You really got to take an interest into it, because you can't sit there and wait for you to be like the 10-year guy and they go, oh, it's your turn to do it. Because if that day never comes, you're always going to be that chippy, which is good for some guys. But if you want a career in it and to move up, then you got to really try and force your way into those kind of meetings and that kind of aspect of the business.
So what would your third point be?
My third point would be like have fun. Like the biggest thing that I took away from like a lot of friends from my time there, you meet a lot of different guys and a lot of people take it way too seriously. Like if you're good at your job, You shouldn't have to like be stressed out and flipping out, especially if you're not running jobs. You should be able to have fun. Like carpentry is fun when you're building cool stuff. Like a lot of guys come home, your back hurts and you hate your job and blah, blah, blah. But like they don't understand that later on in your career, it gets way harder. The stress gets a different kind of stress. It's not as fun. Like I always sit back and talk to the guys that I was working with and now they're project managers of other companies. We just sit there and go, oh, remember the time we used to do this and reminisce about how good it was when we were just grunts, just working. And we're like, oh yeah, those are the best days. It's like go to school. So you see your school friends and you're like, oh, you got like 5 kids and you fucking got a shitty job and you're like, oh, remember that time we fucking stole the school mascot? And you talk about how great school was. That's like carpentry. It's the same thing. You're like a group of guys, especially if you work with a good company for ages. Like you should enjoy the time that you have because once you move away from them, first, like a lot of guys take it as alienation that, you know, you're with those guys for a long time and then you move up and they stayed there and then, you know, it's a different aspect. You're telling your friends what to do. So from that point onwards, it's kind of you and your career from then on. So enjoy that first part of your apprenticeship and going to tech and meeting all your friends. I'm friends with everybody I went to tech with. We're all project managers and stuff of companies, and the best times are those times where you don't have any responsibility. You just go to work. That's the third piece of advice I would give.
Cool. All right. Well, let's let you run free so lead us through your stages that you've gone through up until now. So carpentry, working with the same company as your dad, then going through there to project managing at that company.
No, I went from like they were too small to have a whole bunch of project managers. So I went on to another company that the owner was an apprentice of my dad's, just another commercial mob, but a bit bigger. And I worked with them for 4 years or something. And then I started being a site manager for them and running all their sites. I did a few big fit outs. And then from there, I just gained that relationship with them on a different level than just work. And then I just moved my way up into being a project manager. And then I got asked to go to be a project manager at the sister company, which was a window company of the construction company. And then I pretty much ran that one. And then that gave me a different side of the industry, more of a business side of the industry, like when it comes to cash flow and finance and running subbies and running jobs and materials and all that stuff. So I worked for only like 4 or 5 companies in my whole career.
Is that including your own as well?
No, I don't include that one. I wiped that one from my memory. And then I went from there to owning a powder coating company, which is completely out of the industry. Well, sort of. But.
Sort of. It's definitely part of it, but it's just material management, basically.
Yes, it's a manufacturer. It's just a supplier, I guess. Just no different from any other supplier.
It's still in the industry. It's still in the construction industry. There's heaps of stuff that's powder coated.
Oh yeah, heaps. It's a different aspect.
You're in other industries as well, industrial, automotive. Like there's heaps of different industries.
I've gone from me needing something to somebody needing things from me, which is it's a completely different aspect.
How does that feel?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's fantastic. There's nothing like being treated nicely by builders for once in my life.
Is there any one moment that you, before we continue on through your journey, is there any one moment that you realised that you were like, no, I definitely don't want to do much else. Like, I don't see myself doing much else, like, because I'm pretty satisfied with this journey.
Last year.
Yeah, last year. So how long was that since starting?
Last year was the first time that I sat back and went, I'm pretty done with this. Like, I've done what I wanted to do. And it was just time for me to do something else. Like the thing that people don't understand is in this kind of like how I could describe my time in the last couple of years is really good, but also like literally every day pressure cooker. Like you're really making or breaking some build, especially if you're one part of it. Like you got to see that a building it's like a piano. Like there's 5 bazillion different parts. Like especially when you're one part of it, like carpentry, framing, windows, whatever. You hold them up by one day. You just fuck them. Like you fuck them, and then like they're on you, and it's a really high pressure situation. You're relying on other people to do the work, so you don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. It's just, I got to a point last year where I had this opportunity come to me to buy this powder coating company. And I sat down and I also got an offer to be the GM of the window company because the GM had just retired. So I had a choice whether I would, pack everything up and just take a shot on this owning a business thing again, or, be the GM of this company, which if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, I started being an apprentice 12 years ago. So I went from apprentice to possible GM in 12 years. Now that seems like a long time, but I'm only 33. Like being the GM of a company at 33 is a pretty good thing.
No, it's like what you said there's a lot of guys that are like 40, 50 that are still just like the one day out of it being signed off and they're still the same.
Exactly.
It's like 30 years of work.
Yeah, I felt like my progression was pretty good. Like I felt like I worked hard and I got what I deserved at the end. And then I just had a choice whether I wanted to, and like not to throw people off, but at the moment, the building industry is not what it used to be. Mm. You could probably say the same thing. You were in it. There's so much building going on. It's just, there's builders everywhere. There's a zillion different builders and everybody wants things now. And
off topic, but relatable. Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails, he loves using all this technology and stuff to make his songs. Like he always uses different weird shit to make different noises and make it musical, right? That's industrial music. So what he says though, he goes, look at all the amount of accessible tools and all this great gear that we've got, but do we have the equal ratio to good music? No.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's the same thing with building, right? It's like with most industries, look at all the tools that we've got compared to like 40 years ago, the drills. Battery drills, 55 years ago were not here.
I compare it to sports. Like you go any sport that you watch, there is the good teams or the good leagues, and then there's the shit ones. But there's so much sport.
Yeah.
Like every soccer.
Boxing, soccer. You can't keep up with, like, there's like the top dogs and then there's everything else.
Like look at MMA, for example.
It's getting much like
10
boxing.
years ago, there was the UFC, and then there was the UFC, and then there's Pride.
Yeah,
that was it. That was all you had in MMA. And MMA, if you really watched it back then, was fucking rad. Like Pride was sick.
We spoke about this with Tristan two pods ago, and what we were saying is, and this is what I found by training overseas as well, and that was like 10 years ago, or whatever, around that time, where it just started to breach into you could train MMA all of a sudden. It wasn't just training jiu-jitsu or training taekwondo or training boxing. It was like you could train MMA.
Yeah, and that's what the building industry is like.
Yeah.
There's so much
broadness
output now.
Yeah.
Like there's a UFC, there's a Bellator, there's PFC, there's bare knuckle, there's fucking Ching Chong Bagong. There's a zillion different leagues.
10 on 10.
Yeah, like those Russian things with the grandmas fighting two fucking 16-year-olds. Like there's so much in there. Like it's not all going to be good. Like the good ones, the UFC and the Bellators and all that stuff, and then you got the shit ones, which is the two grandmas fighting the two little kids. Like there's so much. That's how I find the building industry. It's just too much. It's too much. But anyone can be a builder. Me and you, we could go do our course, become a builder, put 10 grand together, buy a bit block of land, build a shitty house. We're now a builder.
Yeah,
like that house falls down in 5 years, but everyone's doing that. So what I found is that there's just so much, and not all of it is what it used to be, which is quality.
But I think also there's so much, builders, but there's so much trades that are like hiring cheap labor.
Well, you have to.
And 20 guys doing like a thing that like 3 guys, good guys, could do. What's the good things that have come out of this situation? I think there is less import, which is a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's, as I said, like that, the industry doesn't reflect what you do, if that makes any sense. Like, being a chippy or a sparky or a plumber, I find chippy different to being a sparky and a plumber because, like, you don't walk past the bathroom and be like, laid them pipes. Like, it's not as good. But, like, same being a sparky, see them lights, wide them. But being a chippy, like,
you only get that reward probably on massive commercial jobs where you see all the piping and everything.
Yeah, like cool shit.
To everyday people, it's boring.
But like being an actual tradie is rad. Like knowing those skills to be able to like fix your kitchen and do your own stuff and build a table and is awesome. Like I highly recommend. Like when people come up to me and go, like a lot of, especially girls, like people's that come up with about their daughters. Oh, what industry should you get in? And I always say to them, They got to make a choice. Like, do you want to make money and like have a good, easy life? Or do you want to like know a mad skill? You want money and a good, easy life? Go be a Sparky. It's hard at the start, but at the end, like top notch.
Yeah, contracting, there's
But
money everywhere.
if you want to be like, if you want to make cool shit and build buildings and all that stuff, being a chippy is awesome. Like, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I just got sick of the building industry because
Pressure cooker.
It wasn't for me anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I'd done it. Like,
Were you just over it? Like, over this? Because it is eventually, like, not every single time, but what happened to me with that last one, you just go, man, this happens like a lot. Yeah, over a 3-year period, it's too much, too congested with these pressurized situations.
Yeah, it's not like I've as I said, I've had a few companies. Like, I owned my own construction company, and it's not when you're starting out, it's cool and it's fine and you're making money and all that stuff. But like, eventually you get older, or you have kids and you get a wife, and you want to build your house and stuff. And I found that I actually stopped being a chippy because I have arthritis. I can't swing a hammer for the next 20 years because my hands just can't take it, my elbows and shit. But like you go, it's not feasible. Like, my dad, still working, 70 years old, still a chippy. Like, not as much as he was, but he's still a chippy. His back's fucked, his arms are fucked, his legs are fucked. They like you can't. You want to be able to play with your kids and go on holiday and all that stuff. And being a chippy and in the building industry, especially on the lower levels of it, it's not feasible to do that forever. Like, you got to have an out plan. That's why I always say to people, it's like you got to, if you want to do it, not so much sparking and plumbing and stuff, but chipping especially, if you want to do it, you need to have a career plan. You don't want to be swinging a hammer for 50 years. Because it'll kill you at the end. Like, it'll destroy your body. You want to be a chippy, and then you want to be going to that management role. But like, you don't want to be doing that forever. Like, it's fun though. I will say that I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like, the things that I know and I've learned being a chippy, the things I've built, it's awesome.
So now you're going down a different route, right? So you're not actually constructing things. Like, you're just controlling the management of processing material and supplying. Yeah?
Yeah, well, I was a good chippy. Like, I was quite a good chippy. But I've always been better at managing people than I was at being a chippy. Like, I was a good chippy, but I had more interest in running things than I did. And I think that's...
Is that because you wanted the process to be smoother?
No, I just enjoyed the give back more than building a house than I did. I mean, the give back of knowing that I put a team together and ran something to go out than I did actually building that thing. I was just better at it.
So the concept of actually running a team rather than building a house was more approachable, more attractive for you.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if like anybody plays any sports games or anything like that. It's like I always enjoyed the aspect of building a team and making trades and like bringing players in.
Football Manager rather than FIFA.
Yeah, than actually playing the game. Like, I would consider myself a coach more than a player. That's what I enjoyed more. I enjoy bringing people up. I enjoy teaching people things. I've always been a teacher. I always took people under my wing when I was a chippy, and a lot of the guys that I were apprentices underneath me are now project managers and site managers because I enjoyed teaching them the right way. And I was very selective about that. So I was I always enjoyed that more. So now that I've owned this company, I enjoy the fact that I don't have to do the work. I enjoy doing the work, but I enjoy the fact that I am looking after the guys that are doing the work for me.
Well, the thing with, I think you can relate to this at some point. What I see, and this is the thing that a lot of people, I thought it was just common sense, but a lot of people don't look into their future. Oh, what are you doing 5 years? I don't give a fuck.
Well, I was like that. I was definitely like that until I realized that I was good at it. And a lot of guys don't know that they're good at it. Like, a lot of guys go, say cunt a lot and smoke 500 cigarettes a day and get drunk when they get home, drink a case of beer. They don't realize that they can be more than just chippy. Being chippy is cool, but it's not a career thing. It's not something that you want a career thing.
It's a bridge to more
I don't think you'll
roads.
ever go talk to a chippy who's 50 years old and it doesn't go, fucking this industry. Oh, fucking I been chippy. Fuck, my legs don't work and
You want to be a
shit.
chippy? You're fucking crazy.
But you can't, in a sparky sense or a plumbing sense, that opportunity is not there. You go from, like, I only found out the other day that Sparkies have project managers. I just thought you were a Sparky or you were the business owner. So, like, like, that's how a lot of people see it: is you're a Sparky or a plumber, and then you start your own plumbing business, and then you got other people that are plumbers, but you run it.
That's how a lot of people look at trades, all trades.
Yeah, but there's a lot more in being a chippy. You could be a chippy, a site manager, a site foreman, a teacher, or a fucking
Workshop
project manager, a workshop manager, an operations manager. You could be all that shit.
Yeah.
And there's more in being a chippy. Like, there's a better career path.
I guess the thing with chippies is, carpentry is very broad. Like, there's a lot of things that involve carpentry, right? And the skill set can be transferred across to a lot of different things. But when you're essentially building a lot of the stuff on a construction site, whether it's residential or commercial, a lot of the time, unless you're just doing frames and then pissing off, if you're doing internal cabinetry and stuff, or building extra walls or this, that, and the other, as they add them off the plan, they do add things halfway through and stuff like that. You're seeing every other trade do their things. So usually that's why carpenters end up being project managers for buildings and stuff.
That's
like you're in the center. You're throughout the whole process.
Exactly, from start to finish.
Yeah,
and
except for like the running in the pre-works to the civil works, the plumbing and stuff like that.
Yeah, you come in after.
But the actual that's a separate entity in itself managing that. But when it comes to like from building up, you're there. There's some form of carpenter, and usually carpenters become like roofers and all sorts of different things, because it's like you can transfer that skill set across, but you're around all the aspects of the build. And I think that like Sparkies, they're only there, they run it in, they go away, and they come back and put lights. Or sometimes they don't, they just run it in and go away.
That's why I feel like more chippies have a different trajectory in their career path.
Yeah, definitely.
But like the industry is good. It's just it got, I don't know, lost along the way.
Well, every industry got hit in the most recent years, but I mean, there's lots of different positive things that come about. But I think, to be honest, the most positive thing that's come about with everything, but a lot of construction thing is slingshot like you and I into different like put the candle on our ass and go, oh, shit, we better do something different.
I definitely wouldn't be where I am now without my trade behind me, and I definitely wouldn't have the skills and stuff that I have now without it. Like, it's not something that you can get from being a personal assistant or a bus driver or anything like that. It sets you up for life in a different way.
I think you could look at a lot of different industries, but I think if you learn, like it sounds like you definitely, but if you learn well at the start, like when you're younger, there's almost no better work ethic than a lot of good tradies.
It all comes back to that first point, that first one thing you got to sit down and think about. And a lot of people go, if someone goes to you, oh, you need to sit down and have a think about this. You don't. You just go, I know what the answer is. But we really got to sit down and go, is this what I want to do? And if it is, the world is your oyster in this industry. If it's just something that you're doing, you'll bounce around fucking here and there and you do that. And the thing about the building industry is reputation is everything. You got a shit reputation, you got a shit attitude. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that you especially in Canberra, you'll
Well, Australia's too small. Australia in general.
Yeah,
there's, like 26 million people here.
Everybody knows everybody. You're like, oh, fucking Joe Bloggs. Yeah, he worked on a side of mine. He's a fuckwit. And then that's you. That's you for the rest of your life. You're the fuckwit Joe Bloggs who worked on that guy's side that one time.
Yeah.
But if you want to be serious about it and you want to set up a life for yourself, like, it can be done and quite easily. I didn't kill myself. I worked hard, but like the opportunity is there. Like for a good chippy and then a good general project manager and site manager, they're hard to come by. And if that's the career path you want to pursue, like, get serious about it and do it the right way.
Now I look at it like, I definitely and sadly don't want to really, and that there is money in it and there is growth in business, but it's like what you said, it's too much pressure cooking for me to be like, and then trialing out this other avenue. And I've got plans over the next 2 to 5 years to basically be doing like 30% of my time in construction, building for other people. The rest is essentially here and building like musical instruments or fitting out the studio and stuff, or fitting out other people's studios. So, but I wouldn't be able to do that. And that's like really cool because that's intertwining my sort of music world with the construction skill. But a lot of people can't even look at that. You know, a lot of musos and stuff, they wouldn't even know how to start to build a guitar.
Well, the big thing that I could say to people, I've never said it before, but I'll start now that I've thought of it, is that don't let the building industry use you. Use the building industry.
Yeah.
Like you don't like
that was my first thing. I was like,
yeah.
When I like I did landscape stuff, but when I did started doing the glass and did like measure cut and this, that, and the other, like again and again, and different angles and this and geometry. And I was like, I was bad at maths, right?
Oh yeah, I sucked at maths.
And then I got really good at it because I was like, oh, look what you can do. Like this is cool. I can make something that's usable that I don't have to go buy. And then if you get really good at it, you can repeat it, and build a house.
Yeah, that's right.
You can the skills just never end. And
yeah, like you can use the industry to your benefit.
Yeah.
That's the biggest pitfall that I went through it as well, is that I let the industry use me and like my dedication and my work ethic to its benefit. And it's only now that I've bought this new company and I can see that now I can retire at 50 and I can, buy a coast house and I can spend more time with my family, and my missus only has to work 3 days a week because we bought it together and all that kind of stuff. And my son can inherit a company that makes lots of money.
You've got a prosperity future there.
Yeah. And that's because I figured out last year that I was letting the building industry use me to benefit off my work instead of me using the builders industry like to benefit off. If you know what I mean? Like,
here's a good point. So at that point, where was the full what was the full moment where you're like, I think I'm going to this other thing?
Well,
like I'm buying this company because you had to juggle and think about it, right?
Oh yeah, I thought about it.
What was the point?
A year-long process.
What was the full click over point? Was it at one point? Was it over a week or?
The click over point is a lot of guys get scared that like if there's any job.
Think about like if the viewers and listeners, like what if you get into perspective, there's a lot of people that would be in this position every day, right? If you look at all the millions of people in different industries, but there's opportunities, but they're scared.
Well, it's not so much you're scared that if you take on something, you're not going to get, because a lot of guys have it good where they are.
Yeah,
they're just
so you're risking more.
Yeah, but what turned it for me is that I realized that the relationships and all that stuff that I had weren't going to go away if I moved into this venture. And also,
so there was no loss in your relationships.
No, like the people that I worked for, I'm still good friends with them, and we still do business together and all that. I figured out that I needed to do something. I could still work hard and I could still have drive and I could still use my knowledge in the industry to go do something that I wanted that would be better for me, but me alone, not the industry. Like I'm not changing the powder coating industry. The industry is not going to blow up because I've moved into it. I'm using that now to benefit myself. And I've now used my knowledge in the building industry and all that stuff to now move across to this company. And when I realized that I can use what I've learned and everything to benefit me, not the people I work for, that's when I was like, oh, well, this is exactly what I want to do. Because a lot of guys will sit there and go, oh, they love their boss and they love their employees and they love their work. And they go, oh, well, if I leave, what's going to happen? Like I've put so much effort into this already. But you at the end of the day, you're servicing somebody else. You're putting someone else's kids through college. You're making someone else millions of dollars, not yourself. Use everything that you've learned and everything that you've worked for to benefit yourself. Go get that job that's less work and more money, and use the skills that you've got somewhere else. Like use it to your benefit. I was stuck in that for 2 years, almost. Oh, I guess you could say longer than that if you took the carpentry experts into it because it's the same company. But I was stuck in that. I was like, I liked where I worked. I didn't want to let these people down. But then at the end of the day, I realized like I'm making money for someone else. At the end of the day, I make my paycheck. They don't give a fuck about me. You got to use what you've learned to benefit yourself. And that's when I really clicked over and was like, this is something that I really should pursue, because those kinds of opportunities don't come around all the time.
And did you see the end of the line for where you were basically in the construction industry. Obviously, like you could be general manager, but then what's next? You have to own a company to step above that, right?
It wasn't about the progression. Like I could have stayed as a project manager for the rest of my life. I was happy, but I wasn't happy. And a lot of guys out there aren't happy either because the industry is just a fickle bitch sometimes. And it really can take it out of you. And I wasn't happy for a long time because it was so much stress and that pressure cooker. No, it wasn't over because I love working.
It sounds like
it's just a pressure.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you don't.
So hold on, how isn't there a lot of pressure taking on a new company? Well,
yeah, but
it's not a new company; it's a developed company.
The way it was explained to me, and it was by a couple of people, is that the pressure's there and the work's there and the hours are there and all that. But at the end of the day, I come home, that money's in my bank account. That work that I put through, that pressure that I get through, the hard yards that I do are now directly benefiting me instead of my boss. I'm my boss. That's
the whole thing where I don't know if that's what I was saying. I don't know if it is slightly different running your own business to like being a top dog in a company, like even an investor and stuff, because every bit that you push forward or every bit that you help your team and your team helps you go forward, you're the top beneficiary.
Yeah. Like when I owned my own construction company, it went well. I just was going to do a lot of personal stuff and I fucked that up with a lot of other things. That's a whole different kettle of fish. But it went well. So you can start your own business. But if you have drive and passion and skills and you're using them to benefit somebody else, there's no reason why you can't use those skills to benefit yourself.
Mm.
You can go and build 2 houses every 2 months. And you might not be building the output that you would at the other company. You might not, I'm making $1 million on this job, blah, blah. You might be making $100,000, but that's your $100,000.
Yeah.
That's your money.
Yeah.
You can go buy a house with that shit. What you're doing is you're buying a house with somebody else.
The thing that just made me think is a good thing about the construction industry that I think a lot of others don't really have. There's only other ones that do it, which is not as profitable, but it still happens, is in the creative world, like filmmaking and acting and stuff, is the line of opportunity. So in like medical, you have to like study for so long and you have to get certain things. With a lot of trades, they're not like 8 years.
No.
They're under 3-4 years, and then gas and stuff extended, but you can still get a good wage after 4 years basically doing any trade.
Especially this day and age, like the minimum wage has gone up for qualified people, and the what's the word I'm looking for? The interest for those kinds of skilled labor
there's work everywhere.
Is everywhere. And you're getting paid a lot of money. I know a lot of young guys that are getting paid a lot of money, like what I would have dreamed of making when I was their age.
But the thing is as well is after that, it's like, it's all the whole thing is like, a lot of people don't take this opportunity, but there's opportunities everywhere in the construction industry.
Well, it's a road with 40 different streets off it.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can, but it's all, and you can take every single one of those avenues in your life. You just got to want to do that, which brings us straight back to that first point. Is this what you want to do?
Not saying that people getting into the industry later in their lives don't have as much opportunity, but you have much more energy when you're younger to deal with like flop situations where it doesn't work and you got to pick yourself up and you get back on the horse quicker because you've got more energy.
And the construction industry, any trade, not just carpentry, it's like a frat house. It's like a big old frat house. Like you got the old guys, you got the medium age guys, but everybody's there. They've done their time, and you're coming in as that new guy. You got to prove yourself.
You got to prove yourself.
You get hazed. You get.
If you prove yourself quick, they get off you.
Yeah, exactly. And then but it's exactly like a frat house. You got to be a
whip it every single day for a couple months, and they'll just.
And that's where a lot of people fall in a hole. But if you go in there with drive and passion, and you work hard and you learn, and you show the ability to learn, you can go far. But other than that, like walking into that is crazy. It's a big ass frat house. You got the guys there and they're fucking hiding your tool belt and shit, or they're calling your names, or making like when I was an apprentice, they used to maybe wear a dress. Like I wore a dress for a week until the boss's wife called me up and was like, "Sorry for making you wear a dress." But it's like a frat house, and you got to prove yourself. But if you have that drive, you can go straight past
the left-handed wheelbarrow,
and you get the left-handed screwdriver and shit like that, or a skyhook. Skyhook was my favorite one. Yeah. I remember the one where you make the guy run the demo saw. It's a push start demo saw. Yeah, like shit like that.
Look,
But then,
there can be really, really, really mean scenarios, but I think if you're not like testing people's dexterity and how thick their skin is at the start, then they're almost protecting you, because when you get out into the real world as a young guy just finishing and you leave that company or whatever, you'll get hounded. There's wolves and sharks
the
everywhere.
first thing I learned.
So a little bit of that stuff is very positive, and there's some guys that just can't take it. Get out. Don't be that in industry.
The first thing I learned as when I was an apprentice was like grow the fuck up and just I guess not be a man, but like get over it and move on. Like
grit your teeth.
Yeah, you'll get past it, and then those guys will look after you forever. And those guys that I learned from, I'm still friends with today, and have helped me through a lot of things, mentored me through different situations.
Well, I think when you come in fresh and you work like a 6-hour day, and you're like, man, I'm tired, the respect goes.
The whole industry is respect based.
Well, these guys when they were your age, they worked 20-hour days. They worked 15-hour days. Like they just did that to earn like half of what you're getting right now in equivalence of what
I was earning $7 an hour as an apprentice. Yeah. Like you can't get away with that these days. But that's back to my other point where I was saying like you gotta really just sit down and work hard, and then you'll get places. And as you said, it's the construction industry in every trade is a big open road. And you can choose any way you want to go as long as you have that drive.
I think the number one thing about that's why I thought this is a really good positive thing about the industry. Not that we're bagging out, but it is, everything's dark, but I think that
no, it can be shit. Like, don't get me wrong. It can be
lately
real
with the
shit.
whole situation, the construction industry, it's just been very dark, and then it's hit last year. This year seems no better.
No, it's no better.
It's no better.
Honestly, I would say it's probably almost worse.
Yeah. So the situation where you're jumping into this thing, it's still not a great industry, but you're not getting all the pressurized stuff. You're still in the sort of scheme of it, but you don't have to see. Look, they buy a product off you, and then once that product's sold to them and they like it and there's no problems with it, you're done.
Yeah,
that's it.
And the guys I work with is there's no trade for powder coating. There's none. It's not like painting or anything. There's no trade for it. The guys I work with are guys, they come off the street. I got a chef. I got, mechanics.
Yeah.
I got spray painters. But they all fucking work hard.
Yeah.
And they all work so hard, and they want to do what they want to do. There's no, they all do well in the job, and they want to do well with the job. I've never seen anything like it, especially in an unskilled, well, not unskilled, but in a non-traded.
I think it's going to be different in 10 years' time. There's going to be different ways to certify things because it doesn't work all the time. Like 60% of the people that are ticketed are hopeless.
Honestly, I reckon it's going to go the other way. I think that it's going to get worse.
Ticketed.
I think that you'll have to do less to get ticketed, because I think that the throughput of work that needs to get done, and obviously construction industries are connected to apprenticeship like places, and they're going to be like you need to pump out fucking 300 apprentices this year, and it'll get less and less skilled, and you see that in the work. I think there was maybe 15 people in my class, and then now there's probably 30, 40 people in the class. And it can't get any, they can't get the attention that they need to be able to be good builders and shit. So I think that's going to get worse. But as I said, if people are listening and they're builders or they're apprentices, like seriously, sit down with your girlfriend or your mom or your dad and sit there and go, look, I had it good because I had my dad to look at. Like we never had this conversation, but I looked at him and I go, like first off, I was like, yeah, I want to be like my fucking dad. And then eventually I was like, oh, I don't want to be like my dad. I want to, my dad's great, but I don't want to be fucking 65 years old and swinging a hammer.
It was, so his generation, there's a lot of that though, because I think it was different. There wasn't as many opportunities for them, and the internet and stuff was not, it didn't come until they were sort of our age. But the main thing I think with all of this, to cap it off, is once you go through any trade and you go out to the real world, there's another thing which you can do, which I thought it was in every industry, but it's not as big in a lot of industries. There are some. I do know my brother does it has done it in the tech world for IT and programming and stuff. Is subcontracting is everywhere in construction. So you have an opportunity to start your own business, and you don't have to hunt for clients. There's clients everywhere. You just subcontract. There's good money. There's you control. You can stop a project if you don't want to work for that in that contract, as long as you keep within realm and don't lose. You walk to the next one. You walk to the next one. There's great opportunities to grow yourself as a a business.
Yeah.
Rather than having to like start a business, a shop front, buy a shop front, like pay rent for a shop front.
And
like,
there's more from home. There's more opportunity to learn too. Like you learn what your square meter is, learn what your bottom dollar is. And it's all on the fly. No one teaches. They don't teach that in tech. Like in tech, they don't teach that shit. Like that's business school stuff. But you learn that stuff on the fly. But as I said, sit down with your loved ones, sit down by yourself, and go, what do I want to? No one ever does it. But you go, what do I want to be in 10 years? When I sat down. If I ever sat down when I was younger and an apprentice and I said, what I want to be in 10 years, I would be like, fucking MMA fighter. I want to be a fucking professional skateboarder. But sit down and go, do I want to own my own business one day? Not in just construction, but in anything. Do I want to be a project manager? Do I want to be a general manager? Do I want to be a site manager? And then go, if the answer is yes, then it's all up to you though. Like you can't get those things. It's just like everything, like college and all that shit. University and stuff. You need to work hard to get it. And you got to have that drive.
The thing with like the difference between university and doing a trade, is there's barely any practical in university. Like you get practical afterwards, and then you could have been done the 6 years, and then you go, oh shit, I don't like that. Where you have the opportunity to pre-do the work because they'll teach you. If you're a trade assistant, they'll teach you a little bit, or you'll get experience, and then you can feel it out, or you can change around, and then you can go, oh, this is cool, and then find a place that will take you as an apprentice. Or you don't need, a lot of the stuff you can just be trade assistant a lot of the time and get great skill, and then still become a project manager down the line.
Yeah, and you don't have to be super smart. Like a lot of people.
You have to have drive.
But you don't, you're like,
construction,
I'm not smart.
You have to have energy.
My girlfriend will say different, but I'm not that smart. Like I don't know how to do a lot of shit, and I'm not super smart. I just learn things along the way. Like I wasn't good at school.
Adaptive is a good word.
Yeah, like my motto at work was always overcome and adapt.
Yeah.
But you can go where you want to go in this industry. Probably, in my opinion, more than any other industry, because there's so many different avenues to get there.
Yeah.
You just got to have one thing. And that's drive. You got to have the passion. You got to go, I know what I want. 12 years. I got signed off in 2010 or 2011 or something like that. And now it's 2023, and I own a business, like a profitable business. And I didn't go to any university or anything like that. I just worked hard. And this industry is the best for recognizing people who work hard.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you're shit at work and you don't work hard, people know. If you work hard, it's super noticeable, and people are rewarded for working hard in this industry.
Because it's physical. You see it like how much you put in, and it's also comparable because it's physical. Because you see like someone building a brick wall, and then you see someone build a brick wall down the road. It's relatively the same looking thing. Not all the time, but relatively the same looking thing. And that guy's done it in 2 days. The other guy's still on his second line of bricks. It's like, what's going on there?
It's all effort.
Well, you can do anything.
Yeah, well, what I was saying is, what are those hard video games that you play, like the really hard ones, like Elden Ring and shit, like the ones that are really fucking hard?
Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, those ones.
Yeah.
Like no one ever starts off just being really good at it.
That's a really good example is, what was that dragon one of the Elder Scrolls? Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim.
You start and you can forage and this, that, but then you can learn skills, but you can cross that skill across to something else.
But even just playing the game. Like no one ever starts off and takes on the big boss and they're fucking super good.
You're not going to take on the dragon being but you level one.
You persist and then you get good. So that's what I'm saying. In the buildings industry, it's about persistence and learning. You're not going to walk into the building industry and be like, all right, I immediately know how to fucking do a bird's mouth on a roof. No, you don't. You learn that. But if you don't ever fucking care about doing that, you're never going to learn that. It all starts with the effort. Skills will come. Skills always come. Driving, anything you can imagine doing, skateboarding, music, everything. It comes with
persistence.
Like drums. No one ever just picks up a drumstick and just goes.
I did.
Does it? That guy.
Some people do.
That guy from the beat. Not many people can just
Magfoot or something.
Yeah, no one can. Not a lot of people can do that. But if you fucking sit there and practice every day for fucking 5 hours, you'll get to that stage.
Anyone can learn a skill.
Yeah, that's right. But you can't learn attitude. You can't teach us. You can't teach drive.
You can't teach it. It's but everyone's got, I swear to God, everyone's got drive at something. You just got to find it.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why I
If
say,
you're not searching, if you're sitting there and being safe and saving your dollars for a house that you're going to like not be, you're going to sleep in.
yeah,
You know?
and that comes back to my first point where
When you're retired, that's cool. Have a cool house and go there and just stay there all the time.
yeah,
But in your youth, you got to try different things. And I think construction's really easy to jump from one thing to another.
yeah, you just got to find your muse. Just got to find what you enjoy doing, and that's back to my first point where you really got to sit down and go, is this what I want to do?
What do you think is going to happen if they go, like, if they keep sitting down and they're just not asking themselves enough? What's going to happen? They're going to start hating everything, yeah, because they're not really doing it.
If it's not what you want to do,
they're going to hate it.
Immediately go do something else. Like, it's not the industry for you because it'll chew you up, it'll spit you out, and it's one of those things where you're too late to go do something else. Because you figured it, because it's not mundane, but it's so easy to just do every day. It's just work every day, blah, blah. It's like working at a grocery store. No one sits down and goes, I want to work at this grocery store for the rest of my life. But it's easy. And then you realize you're fucking 25 years old. You've worked at the grocery store. You got no other skills.
You put on 18 kilos in the last like six years.
It's like anything, sport, you sit down. I always say to my son, I was like, he wants to play something every new sport or a new thing every 5 weeks. And I say to him, I go, is this really what you want to do? You really want to play soccer? You going to play this for 5 years, or you just doing it because your friends are playing it? Oh, I'm just doing it because my friends are playing it. I said, well, don't waste your fucking time. Go do taekwondo. Go do this. It's the same with, anything that you do, like mixed martial. I'm sure you did it with your kickboxing and stuff and your Muay Thai. I'm sure you sat down at one stage and was like, I'm traveling to Thailand. I'm doing all these different trainings and stuff. Is this really what I want to do? And I'm sure the answer was yes. And then until the stage where you sat down and you went, is this what I want to keep doing? And I'm sure the answer was, not really. And then you tried something else.
I think like the whole thing that I'm just putting two and two together with you saying the kickboxing and you saying that you had your dad to watch basically and get into, and you're like, yeah, cool. And then when you start doing it, sometimes it changes your perspective a little bit. And you're like, yeah, this is cool, but yeah, maybe I want to do something else and that's probably where the management thing came in with you. Like you like the skill, you want to learn the skill, but then you probably learnt it pretty quick because being around your dad as well. So it was a good mentorship. Mentorship is another thing as well that people should hunt for.
Yeah, mentorship is super important.
So if you're at that stage where you're keen to do it, you got the drive and you found what you want to do, the next thing is mentorship.
Yeah, and that comes with anything in life. That's not just the construction industry. Like I used to do jiu-jitsu a lot, and then I used to do it all the time. And then it got to a stage where I was like, someone said to me once, one of my bosses said, I can't remember who it was, and he said, I used to come in, I used to have sore legs and, like limp and have a sore elbow or swollen face, or like when I was playing footy, I was playing really good footy and I used to come with sore knees. And he used to say to me, he goes, are you going to be a football player when you're older, when you're grown up? And I would say no. And he would stop fucking playing football and concentrate on your job. Did you want to be in this industry for a long time? And I'd say, yeah. And he goes, stop playing fucking footy, work harder, and then do something else. And to some people that might be like, fuck you, like, didn't tell me what to do on my own time. But it was a big thing. I took that and I said, you know what, I'm not going to be a fucking NRL player. I'm not going to be in the UFC. Yeah, I want to be a fucking project manager. So I'm going to stop doing that shit. I'm going to find something else to do that I enjoy that's not going to stop me from doing the thing that I want to do. And that was that mentorship. Mentors, like my dad was another example. Never told me anything I ever wanted to hear. Never was like, oh, you're doing a really good job. Always was like, you're fucking slacking and the boys know. Or everybody knows that you went to the toilet too long today. Or whatever, something like that. And that's mentorship. And you're finding that is super important because that's what's going to keep you going and that's what's going to teach you.
If you want to get to that next stage, like you can learn a skill, you can do it for a bit. But if you actually really want to get further, you gotta have someone that's been through the ropes and to be like, if you keep going that way, in 2 years' time, you're not going to be in the industry. Like,
my biggest thing was
the reason why that's so important to get the drive first, because if you do get to that point and then you got to drive through that, that's another stage you got to drive through of learning all this hard stuff.
It's all for nothing if you don't have that passion for it. My dad wasn't so much as like showing me what to do. Like he did, but the biggest thing that he did was
attitude.
I always had the attitude for it. It was looking at him and going, when I'd flip for me and said, I kind of want to move on from the chippy side of it, is just looking at him when I was like 30 or 25 years old or whatever, and looking at him at 65 and I'm like, oh, like he's still swinging a hammer and he can barely walk.
Thanks for coming on, Matty. I'm sure we'll have you again on some other subjects because you're very vast. As you said, you like to dive into, jiu-jitsu, skateboarding and stuff like that. So I'm sure we can get you on in different aspects. But
I have a plethora of information right up in this milk.
all right, like, subscribe. Can see me. Just like subscribe. Follow us on YouTube. Beard Guru Australia podcast. It's coming at you. Thanks for watching and listening. Peace.